Okay, today we are doing a mini lesson, if you are at home, that is about main idea. On our weekly Wonderstruck, we've got our focus standard this week, which is going to be RI, which is Reading Informational Text 5.2. Determine two or more main ideas of a text and explain how they're supported by key details. Summarize the text is another one. We've got summarizing down pretty well. With every single thing that we read this year, we were going to summarize. But now we're going to look at some of the verbs that are in here. So number one, we have to determine. We have to figure out, come up with two or more main ideas of a text. And then we're going to have to explain how. That word how is what we call a little word with big meaning. How they are supported by the key details. So understanding what the main idea or determining the main idea is just the first step of it. The second step is figuring out how they're supported by the key ideas and details. We are going to be using the passage that I have assigned to you, Pictures of the Year, to do our mini lesson because a mini lesson is supposed to be short. Now, whenever we're reading a book, we go by the events, right? Usually we stop every page, every 2 pages, and summarize what happened, any new characters that are added to the text, etc. But for nonfiction, we're going to look at the paragraphs. Remember, this is whenever we did our 9 with a line. So to start off, we need a sheet of paper. We need a pencil. We're going to title it the actual title of the passage on the very top, which is Pictures of the Year. Then I'm going to write the word summary. Oop. Whoops. All right, here we go. Pictures of the Year summary. We're going to count how many paragraphs there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But some of these are tiny, so we're going to do some of them together, okay? For example, we're going to do paragraphs 1 and 2 together. So on the side margin of my page, I'm going to draw my 9 with a line 1-2. 9 with a line 1-2. That means paragraph 1 through 2. I'm going to read it, stop, summarize it. People today take lots of photos. Many people use cell phones to photograph their daily lives with friends and family. Some photographs are really memorable. They capture important events such as birthday parties, or weddings, or they show beautiful places. Years later, people may look at these special photos to remember the past. What's the main point of this? I would say it's that people take pictures of many things. Remember, we're trying to make it short and simple. If your summary in nonfiction is longer than the passage that you read, it's way too long. We're keeping it short and sweet. Next, let's group paragraphs 3 and 4. So I'm going to draw my 9 with a line. Paragraph 3-4 in the margin. And I'm going to read it, pause, write the summary. Long ago, however, cameras had not been invented yet. How did people back then record important moments? Some people told stories about old times. Others wrote down what they remembered. Some people made special drawings to help them recall important moments. Among those people were the Native Americans of the Lakota tribe. This one I'm going to stop and think about. It's talking about how did people a long time ago take pictures. A lot of times people told stories, they wrote down what they remembered, and they drew things, including the Lakota tribe. So we're going to say, long time ago, comma, people told stories, comma, drew, comma, and then I'm going to write Lakota tribe. Long time ago, people told stories, comma, drew, comma, Lakota tribe. It's a little bit of a summary of everything that we just read about. All right, paragraph 5, I'm going to do separately because it's a little longer. Paragraph 5, 9 with a line 5. Every year, Lakota leaders decided which event was most important. A Lakota artist was then asked to draw a special picture of that event. Because each year's pictures was decided on during the winter, the drawings became known as winter counts. Stop and summarize. I'm going to say Lakota leaders chose most important event, comma, drew winter counts. And I'm going to put winter counts in quotes because that's a new thing that we just learned. Lakota leaders chose most important events or event drew winter counts. That's interesting. 9 with the line 6 because it's a little longer too. Whoops. Defines it for you if you need it to. For a long time, winter counts were drawn on animal skins. Later, the drawings were done on paper. The pictures told the history of the tribe. Each year, the newest winter count was added to the Lakota collection of pictures from earlier times. That helped people keep track of the years. Now let's add the 7th to it. Today, winter counts are important records of the Lakota past. So in my margin, 9 with the line 6-7. Let's say winter counts drawn on skins, comma, then paper, and kept yearly, comma, helped them keep track of time, period. Winter counts drawn on skins, then paper, and kept yearly helped them keep track of time. All right. Now, this is the new addition to this strategy. We know how to do summaries, but we're going to really focus before we start our next novel on how to do them with informational text. Anytime we have a test or quiz, anytime there's a ReadWorks, anytime there's an article, anytime we have text that we are reading that involves nonfiction text, we are going to complete this strategy, the summarization strategy. But we're working with the main idea. So the first part of our standard is to figure out the main idea of the passage, right? So on the very bottom of your notes, we're going to write main idea overall. Main idea overall. That is because the language of the testing questions, a lot of times will ask you, what's the overall main idea? So we're going to start using that language in our daily activities. So we're going to have to look at all of these notes that we took, and we're going to have to figure out a combination of all of them that can just summarize the entire passage, give us the main idea in one statement. All right, so we've got people take pictures of many things. Long time ago, people told stories, drew Lakota tribes. Next one, Lakota leaders chose most important events, drew winter counts. Winter counts drawn on skins, then paper, and kept yearly helped them keep track of time. So overall, what could we think is the main idea of this entire passage? It's got to be about pictures. It's got to be about the Lakota tribe. It's got to be about how they used their special event that calls the winter count and drew about it in order to keep track of time. Now, none of our main idea can be any of these singular main idea or summary statements because these are what we would call the details. All of these details combined help us come up with the main idea overall. So let's think about it. Let's say I think it's overall more about the Lakota tribe because I have 1, 2, 3 passage notes, summary notes about the Lakota tribe and only one just about pictures. So let's start off with Lakota tribe. Lakota tribe drew yearly event on skins called, what did they call them? Winter counts. I'm going to put those in quotes. These winter counts, I have to go to the back page, helped them keep track of their history. Period. Now I have 2 statements for this. Sometimes you'll have them in one. Your main idea is one sentence. Sometimes it'll be more. So let's just review our overall main idea. The overall main idea of this passage is the Lakota tribes drew yearly events on skins called winter counts. These winter counts helped them keep track of their history. Would we say that's a really good summarization overall of the entire passage that we read? Yeah, definitely. Anytime you have to pause the video as well to stop and figure out what's going on to catch up in writing, you may. All right, so we've got the small details written here. These are our details. And then we've got our overall main idea. Now let's revisit our standard because as far as I know, we have done the first part to determine two or more main ideas of a text. We've used two sentences. I think that's pretty accurate. Okay. Now we're going to have to explain how they are supported by key details. How? These types of questions might ask you, why did the author write paragraph 4? Why did the author write paragraph 2? What purpose does paragraph 2 have in accordance or based on the overall main idea of the passage? These are our difficult questions. A lot of times we can figure out what's the main idea of the passage. But when it's asking us how, explain how they're supported by the key details, it's a little bit different, okay? So let's think about this. Let's ask the question that I asked before. How does paragraph 5 help us determine the main idea? Let's look at it. Our note for paragraph 5 says that Lakota leaders chose the most important event and then drew the winter counts. What purpose does that serve? I might say, if that question were asked to explain, I might say paragraph 5 talks mostly about how the leaders chose or what they did to choose the event and how they drew it and what it was called, the winter count. So my answer might be something like what the paragraph 5 describes and determines what a winter count is, why a winter count was created, why the Lakotas drew a winter count, okay? So the how they support the main idea supported by key details is a little more difficult.